So what we're going to look at now is we're going to see if we can take everything we saw with completing the square. We noticed that the advantage of completing the square was that we could solve any quadratic equation with it. The problem is it got kind of tedious. There's a lot of steps involved and can be sometimes difficult to remember what exactly to do when. And so what we're going to do at this point, we're going to see if we can now take completing the square, see if we can find a shortcut formula that then completes the square for us. It allows us to perform all those mathematical mechanics without having to remember every last step. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by imagining a generalized quadratic that's in standard form. In order to do that, we're going to leave everything in the form of variables. So we'll have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And we can describe any quadratic in standard form using this setup so long as we have set it equal to 0 beforehand. But once we do that, all we have to do is identify the values of a, b, and c, and we can then go ahead and state how that quadratic is going to behave based on those three values. Here's how this is going to work. Watch carefully what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and complete the square with this. In order to do that, I first of all have to make it so that my a value is equal to 1. In order to accomplish that, I'm going to divide through everything by a. When I do that, that cancels out a on my first term. My second term's coefficient is now divided by a. And my third term, the constant term, is now divided by a. 0 is also divided by a, but 0 divided by anything is 0, so long as a is not 0, because I can't divide by 0. So that is the one limitation on what we get here. Keep in mind, a can't be 0, but that's fine. The only way a would be 0 is if this wasn't a quadratic. So this is only applicable to quadratics. So we have to keep that in mind. From here, we'll complete the square. We identify our partial perfect square, move the constant term to the other side, subtract both sides by c over a. And then we'll identify what constant term fits in here. Take half of our middle coefficient, so that's going to be b over 2a. I took half of this, so the denominator is twice as big. Square it, that's going to give me square the numerator, square the denominator. This will get added to both sides. Then express this as a perfect square. Square root of the first term, square root of the last term, sine of the middle term. And let's combine these two fractions. They don't have the same denominator right now, but we could make them have the same denominator. This one has to be built up by 4a over 4a. Because 4a times a is the same as 4a squared. So I will end up with b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Take the square root of both sides. That'll eliminate the squared over here. And on the right side, numerator, I don't know what the square root of that is, but I do know there's a positive and a negative version. So I'll leave it as the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Denominator, that is a perfect square. Square root of that is 2a. I then go ahead, finish isolating x, subtract b over 2a from both sides. And those two fractions both have the same denominator. We can combine these as a single fraction. I end up with any quadratic equation in standard form, if I know its values a, b, and c, its coefficients, its solutions must be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I can take this formula here, I can plug in whatever values I had for those three coefficients, plug them in for a, b, and c in this formula, simplify the formula, it solves the equation for me. we take this formula, because it solves only quadratics, we call this the quadratic formula. And it provides a real good shorthand for then solving any quadratic equation for its x values. And the great thing about it, this whole proof that we just went through, we never have to do those steps again. Because we know that this always follows from this because of completing the square. Completing the square proves that this is true. Therefore, we can go ahead and jump straight to this formula whenever we're solving any quadratic equation. Let's see if we can give a shot and see if we can get some practice with how we might use something like this. If I try to solve this quadratic equation for x, I can use the quadratic formula by simply identifying my a value, b value, and c value. Well, that's simply my coefficients. My a value, there's nothing written here, so that's understood to be 1. My b value is -3. Keep in mind that sign is going to be important. And my c value is -2. I can then go ahead, take my quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I just populate the formula with my a, b, and c values. Negative b, well, b was -3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, that was -3, minus 4a was 1, c was -2. All over 2a is 1. I then go ahead and simplify. -3, well, that's just 3, plus or minus. The square root of -3 squared is +9. Minus 4 times 1 is -4, times -2 is +8. All over 2 times 1 is 2. Keep simplifying. 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 8 is 17. All over 2. That is as far as that can be simplified. I don't know what the square root of 17 is. I can't simplify the square root of 17 anymore because 17 is a prime number. I will go ahead and leave my solution at that. This equation has been solved for x using the quadratic formula. And furthermore, you will note that this equation and the other two that are written up here, they're the same equations that we used when we were looking at completing the square. And compare, this is the same formula that we got when we were completing the square as well. So we know that this formula works. It's confirmed every time we try it. Also note, we do have two solutions, one where we added, one where we subtracted. They're both condensed into the same format, but it's two different solutions. And both of these, if they were plugged back in for x, would satisfy that equation. It would be true. All we had to do, take the quadratic formula, plug in the a, b, and c values, and simplify what we have. What if we try this one in the middle? Again, we already know what the answer is because we looked at the answer when we completed the square with this, but let's solve it using the quadratic formula. We have, once again, x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I populate in my values from the equation. -b is 20, plus or minus the square root of b squared was 20, minus 4 times a is 2, times c is 48, all over 2a is 2. I then go ahead and I start simplifying. -20 is simply -20, plus or minus the square root of 20 squared is 400, minus 4 times 2, that'll be -8, times 48 is equal to -384. Check a calculator if you don't believe me. All over 2 times 2 is 4. I then continue simplifying from here. Negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 400 minus 384 is 16 all over 4. Keep simplifying. That is the same as negative 20 plus or minus square root of 16 is 4 all over 4, which is the same as negative 20 over 4 is negative 5 plus or minus 4 over 4 is 1, which is equal to negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4, negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. We have solved this for x as well. And again, compared to the results that we got looking at completing the square, it's the same answer. The quadratic formula works every single time. What about this one? Go ahead and we'll solve this example as well. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Populate in our values. B is negative 10. Don't forget that negative is important. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. That's negative 10 squared. Minus 4a is 1. There's nothing written, so we assume it to be 1. C is 29. All over 2 times a is 1. I go ahead and start simplifying. Negative 10 is positive 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared is positive 100. Minus 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 29, that's minus 116. Again, check a calculator if you don't believe me. 2 times 1 is 2. Simplify. 10 plus or minus the square root of 100 minus 116 is negative 16 all over 2. Keep simplifying. 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 16. Keep in mind, square root of a negative is imaginary. So that comes out to plus or minus 4i all over 2, which simplifies down to 10 over 2 is 5 plus or minus 4i over 2 is 2i. Again, two solutions, one where we added, one where we subtracted. And again, I do get imaginary or complex answers sometimes. Furthermore, note carefully how the imaginary solution came about. That solely came out of this square root. And it only showed up because this square root was negative. This leads us to say a certain thing, that if we look at what was inside the square root here, b squared minus 4ac, this is going to determine whether my solutions are real or complex. If b squared minus 4ac is positive, it's greater than 0, then it's going to give me a positive real square root, and I'm going to end up with a real answer. That's what happened over here. b squared minus 4ac was positive, and therefore I got a real answer. Same thing here. b squared minus 4ac was positive. I got a real answer. Over here, b squared minus 4ac was negative. I got an imaginary or complex answer. What if b squared minus 4ac is 0? Well, if b squared minus 4ac is 0, then the square root of 0 is 0. Plus or minus 0, it's both 0. X is simply negative b over 2a. I get the same answer twice. And so we take that expression, b squared minus 4ac, we call that the discriminant of the quadratic equation. If the discriminant is positive, I have two real solutions. If the discriminant is negative, then I have two complex solutions. If the discriminant is 0, I have two real solutions that are both the same number, or I have the same one real solution. And so that little expression right there, our discriminant, that ends up being really powerful for helping to predict the way that a quadratic function is going to behave. It's going to be really significant when we revisit using this for graphing quadratic functions and for predicting the behavior of quadratic functions. But in the meantime, all we use this for right now, we can use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. identify what values of x satisfy that quadratic equation. And the advantage to this is that it was a lot faster than completing the square, but it still works every single time. And so we summarize, we have 3 different methods for solving a quadratic equation. We can factor it if it's factorable. We can complete the square if it's not factorable. And we can use the quadratic formula if it is or is not factorable. And so we can use whichever 3 of those solution methods is going to be most effective for the problem given in front of us. You'll have to use a little bit of judgment to figure out when that is, but ultimately I can use any of these 3 methods to solve any quadratic equation. We're going to get some practice with how to use these methods and how to solve different quadratic equations based on the way that those methods behave. And we start to analyze the way that they describe different quadratic equations from here.